Hi everybody, it's conference season. I've been doing a few reflective pieces on some of the events I've been at, and a few weeks ago I went up to the ALPMA, which is the Legal Practice Management Association conference, held up in Brisbane this year. It's quite a big turnout. It's been growing over the year, which I think shows, obviously, it's, law firms are considering how they manage their practices ever more effectively, and so the numbers of delegates has grown and grown. There's nearly, I think, 350 to 400 delegates show up to the event, so it's quite a big one. So it's interesting to visit a number of these conferences in a short period of time. They often have different, they end up having different focuses, or foci, never sure what the right word for that is. And the topic that came over loud and clear from ALPMA, from the delegates that were coming around the exhibition space, was one really focused around where they were and what they're doing with the technology they have in their business. And the question really splits into, we're hearing a lot about the cloud. We've made a few excursions into some cloud solutions or putting our tech up into the cloud. But the partners, really, in the small to mid firms, still feel most comfortable when the technology is held on site rather than off in the cloud. So the question is one is on-premise or the cloud more secure than the other? And it really made me think about it. So I thought I'd take the advantage of having a range of different providers in the room. And I got my video camera out and I asked a few of them some sage questions. I spoke to two providers of the sort of core technology, Rob Wilkinson from Centrion and Anthony Ridley-Smith from Matrix Solutions. And I also had a chat with James Kippenberger of Big Hand, who's got a different responsibility, and he leads the product development for the Big Hand solution set. One of the questions I keep being asked is about on-premise, software being on-premise or in the cloud, and whether one is more secure than the other. What are your thoughts on that?
It depends, is the short answer. If you're talking about moving your software and changing products to go to a software as a service type model rather than the on-premise you own it model, there can be differences in security levels, and you have to be careful who you go to, because depending on how it's built, it may be more or less insecure than your on-premise applications. If, however, you're talking about what most firms, especially in the small to medium size, are doing, where they're actually picking up infrastructure, taking it from their office and moving it to a data center, generally speaking, it's more secure. The logical security, so the being able to access things remotely, hasn't changed. You're still using Windows, you're still using your practice management system, it's all identical. The difference is that in a data center, it's physically more secure.
So I think Rob puts that quite neatly in context of we're in that challenging time of it depends. Asked the same question of Anthony Ridley-Smith, and these are his thoughts.
I can understand the partners feeling that way. They care about their data, they care about the security of their client data, and lawyers are risk averse. We want to take away the risks from their life. Actually, moving their data to a cloud environment is more stable and more secure. Cloud providers are able to use technology way beyond what partners of a law firm can afford. And in our environment, we're able to create a very secure, very stable environment using big end technology, and yet provide that data back to the client at a reasonable cost.
So it was interesting, Anthony's perspective, which is obviously, shows the depth of knowledge of working in the legal industry. They're an innately conservative market. Doesn't mean they won't change, but it means sometimes it takes quite a lot of convincing. So now we'll listen to James, and his challenge is more around building solutions for the legal sector.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question. I think it's a pretty topical one. I think the key word probably in the question is comfortable, because I think in the end that's a sort of perception piece, isn't it? That people feel more comfortable with something they can see, they understand, it's always been there, that's been a historical norm. I think the reality is quite often different actually to perception, and I think that is changing. People are now realising that actually people who host stuff in the cloud, that's their business. They're in the business of making sure this stuff is secure, and really this is around security, not around being able to be comfortable you can see the servers. These guys are in the legal profession, they're very good at that. There are other people who are very, very good at security, and I think reality is that people are spotting stuff in the cloud is actually more secure than it probably is having it on-prem.
That's an interesting perspective from James, in that we're in that time of changing perceptions, and ultimately, no matter what justification you can put around it, in the end it's how the owners of businesses feel about the technology as to whether they'll really make that leap. But I think the strong message that I got is the technologists, and I'm one of those as part of Ticket. We know that it's the cloud solutions that can afford a level of security and technology that no individual business can afford these days. That actually, depending on, there isn't one kind of cloud product, but the software as a service end of the market, it just takes away a whole heap of issues. And what I'm seeing is we resell NetDocuments, which is a software as a service document management system. What I'm seeing is it's enabling businesses that could never access this kind of technology before to take it up. So we're seeing law firms who've had to compromise on some of their technology being able to adopt the technology that the bigger businesses are using, or show up in the same kind of way. So ALPMA was interesting, a different style of event, in that very focused around the management of the small to mid firms, some interesting content which they shared publicly. They actually broadcast the event sessions to the conference space, which I thought was really innovative. And I think my final thoughts on the event are more as a reflection of being there as a vendor. I'm increasingly feeling that the vendor space, the exhibition space, is useful for people that have a mission and want to come and talk to certain vendors. I think they're really difficult environments for just the general delegates to get around, because they can be quite hard to move around. As in, people feel they're going to be attacked, I think, by salespeople like me. There's got to be a better way to try and bridge that gap. So that's a topic that I contemplated with Peter Campbell from Hall & Wilcox in a recent video session that we did, discussing our mutual experience at the ILTA Tech Conference early this year in Vegas. So thank you for listening, and I hope you look forward to the next one. Okay.
Smile, it won't hurt you.
That was it. Caroline was also saying... Caroline was saying, I've read the books, you need to change them. I was like, I am not changing them.